in today's video, I'm going to show you this really adorable little cheese nail. So the tip of the nail is cheese, and then if you want to just take it the extra mile, there's a magnetic mouse that can fit in through one of the holes of the cheese to make it just a little something extra special. I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So here we go, we're going to begin sculpting the nail. I'm going to take some clear acrylic and extend my nail with that down the nail form. If you are using tips, you're going to want to pre-carve in some of your cheese holes with your e-file first. But if we're sculpting, after that layer of clear is on there, let it polymerize for just a moment and then take a dotting tool and carve some of your bigger holes, specifically the one that is going to be the one that the mouse comes through. In fact, that's really the only one you have to do, but just make sure that you do have a start on that hole to make it easier to carve through later. After that is done, just continue on smoothing out that tip, make it a little longer if you want to, get everything prepared so that when you go to start sculpting your nail the rest of the way, it's all set for you. I'm going to extend my nail bed with some Cover Pink acrylic. I'm going to make this a French. I personally like to take any opportunity to do a reverse French method just because it is such an important skill to have and to master and to practice and to continue brushing up on. So if you're ever creating a design and you're just practicing and you're like, I guess this could be a French tip, just go ahead and make it a French tip because you won't regret it. I'm going to embed a small magnet into the area right next to that hole where my mouse is going to be residing so that the mouse will stay. Now I'm going to, now that my nail bed area has been cured, I'm going to gently file that into shape with my e-file, or no, with a hand file, not an e-file. And now taking my darker shade of yellow, we're going to use two colors. So taking the darker one, add a thin coat of acrylic across the entire tip, up and over your magnet. If the hole where the mouse is going to be isn't perfect, not a perfect circle, looks a little bit shabby, that's fine. You can clean it up with an e-file later, but you do just want to have that hole as kind of your starter point or your base to make it easier. As well as one thing that you can do that's not a big deal is if your darker shade of yellow acrylic goes up over the smile line that you created with your reverse French, you are going to want to file that off later anyway, so it's going to look better actually if it does go up and over just a little bit. If you have any questions on sculpting a French, I highly recommend checking out my acrylic basics video that I did. That was a live video from a little while ago. It has all the information first off just to get you started on acrylic if you are new to acrylic, but then it really dives deep into the hows and whats of creating a reverse French tip, which, as I mentioned both in today's video and in that acrylic basics video, it's really the foundation of creating so many art things with acrylic. If you can master reverse French, you can do anything. So I highly recommend not only watching the video if you haven't yet, but also just practicing your reverse French method. It is such a valuable skill. Now that I have my secondary color of yellow over the top of this whole thing, then I'm going to take my e-file and I'm going to file this nail into shape. As you may have guessed, this nail is not something that is going to be practical or wearable. So if your apex is a little bit on the thin side, so it looks a little more sleek, that is, to me, just fine. It's not a big deal. If you were actually going to wear this, you would want to be cognizant of keeping that nice and strong. But also, when you are sculpting, a lot of times you do have a little bit of a hidden apex built in, which does help a lot. After I have the nail rough filed with my e-file, I'm going to take a hand file and perfect it. I feel like a hand file does such a much better job of creating really straight, smooth lines. Going back to the e-file, create more holes in your cheese, some on the free edge, and then also carve the lighter shade of yellow off of the surface of the nail in a few places to create indented holes that don't go all the way through. After all of that has been completed, I'm going to take some aluminum foil and I'm going to put that into the hole that I have for my mouse to sit in. I'm going to try to get it as smoothly stuck down as I can. Mind you, this isn't the easiest place to wrap aluminum foil, so it didn't work as well as it usually does, at least in my eyes. It did work. It was just a little bit more tedious than sometimes. I used a brush cover and then I'm using a tweezers to really try to smooth it down as best I can and compress the foil into the right shape. Once you are happy with the shape of your foil, you could use a couple pieces too. It's all good. Just as long as it's covered, then you're fine. But once you're happy with the shape of your foil, you're going to want to add another magnet on top of the foil that will be over the place where the magnet was first embedded into the nail. So this is going to just go right in there. As soon as you drop the magnet anywhere near, it should just click together so you don't have to figure out exactly where it goes. The magnet should find its way. Once you have your nail foil wrapped and you have your magnet in place, then you're going to grab your gray acrylic that's going to be your mouse color. Of course, unless you're going to make a white mouse or a different color. So we're going to begin with the head. Depending on the style that you want this mouse to be, you might want to do like him hanging on so that it's his whole body on the front of the nail and like his hands and his little hands like holding onto the hole. Or you can do it where I am, like I've got his head coming through the hole and his body's going to be behind. It's up to you. I am definitely fashioning the appearance of my mouse after a mouse cat toy, just because I feel like that's pretty straightforward and it definitely gets the idea across that there's a little mouse in the nail. And it doesn't have to really be fancier than that. This whole nail's kind of just silly and goofy. The only real practical reason I could see where somebody would want this nail, and it is very legitimate where I'm from, is if you were doing something for the Green Bay Packers and you wanted to have cheesehead nails, which I have not only created and done, but I have had clients that have them. So that would be like the situation where it'd be like, hey, I have the thing, but then you may not want the mouse. Although, who could turn down the mouse? On a nail form backing, you're going to create your mouse's ears with the same color of acrylic. You're going to place two little beads down on the nail form backing, press them out almost as if you're creating a flower petal. When they are still tacky but pretty much holding their shape, slide your brush underneath, pick them up, place them on your mouse's head, attach them a little bit more securely to your mouse's head with more of your gray acrylic. And then if you want to add some color to the interior of the ear, use like a blushy pink color, add just a little bit of that inside. That color will rest into the divot created by the point of your brush when you were pressing it out. And then I'm going to take some black and make a little bit of a nosy on the end of my mouse's face. The other thing that you can do with your black acrylic is that you can sculpt your mouse's eyes. Some people find that using acrylic is easier for details like this. Some people find paint is easier. I'm generally in the acrylic boat, so I'm going to make my mouse's eyes with acrylic. After your mouse has cured completely, then you're going to slowly start peeling away that aluminum foil and then gently slide your mouse up and out of the hole. After that, remove the rest of the aluminum foil from the interior of your mouse. A tweezers is going to be hugely beneficial for a job like this. Continue just like slowly peeling it away and it will release. Sometimes though, especially if there's a lot of creases in the aluminum foil, it gets kind of stuck and you have to like pick away at it some. But eventually it'll all come out, and in that case, then you can go ahead and fit your mouse on there. I was eager to see how my mouse fit, so I left a little bit of the foil in place and just thought, yeah, it's fine. After you have your mouse done to there, I'm actually going to still try to get that blasted bit of foil out. Like I said, a little tedious. There's some still stuck there. It's okay. I'm going to take a piece of thread that is as close to the color of my mouse as I can find it, and I'm going to attach that to the inside of my mouse with some more of the color of acrylic we've been using thus far. If you wanted to do more details on your mouse, like feet or hands or whatever you want, you can certainly do that. As I said, I am fashioning my mouse after a cat toy, so I am not going to add much more detail to this, and the details in my position for my mouse would all be behind the nail. So I figured the tail sticking out would be cute and you'd see that, but the important area is really going to be the mouse's face, which is where I wanted to focus my attention. I'm going to round out kind of a funny little sharp spot on the end of my mouse's face, but then we can go back to the nail and you can detail it however you want. I am going to take some brown and I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow on a lot of the holes. So this is just some brown acrylic paint, just a little bit here and there just to create a little bit more depth. I'm going to add some highlights on my mouse, on his eyes, apply some matte top coat over my cheese and over the nail bed, and some matte top coat over the mouse's face where those eyes just got their little reflection. But then other than that, this is done. You could definitely have gone glossy on the cheese. I went back and forth on which I thought was better. I do like the matte though. I think it looks more realistic. But here we are, mouse in cheese. If you are a cheese head, you might want to save this one for later. Otherwise, I hope you just got a giggle out of a funny little design, and I will see you all next time. Bye!